Sean Zattel, the boxing voice, here with the legendary Jim Lampley. Jim, tough one for you today. Despite your Hall of Fame credentials, there's always been a segment of boxing, not always, but there's a segment of boxing fans that feel you're biased. I don't know if I've ever heard your perspective on that.
Well, of course. I think what's significant about that is my understanding and expectation that if there are 6 guys in a living room watching a boxing match that I'm calling, probably 3 of them think something like, yeah, this guy's a real authority and he knows what he's talking about. And the other 3 think, this guy doesn't know anything. You know, he's an idiot and I can see the fight better than he does. It's human nature to believe that, particularly with something as simple, seemingly simple as boxing. I mean, this is not a game with a lot of rules and conventions that require strategic thinking and stuff like that. The public sees this as, I'm going to go in against another guy and try to prove I'm more man than he is. So therefore, probably a greater percentage of the general public would look at a prize fight and say, I get it, I know what's going on, than would be the case for a football game, a basketball game, or a hockey game where there are more intricacies to get in the way. So I never call fights with the expectation that fans are sitting out there agreeing with everything I say. That's not human nature. Human nature is that some of them are going to say, oh, he's just shilling for this guy because that's what's in the economic interest of the network. Or he doesn't have a clue what he's looking at because I can see the difference, da-da-da. There's a lot of that, and, they're welcome to it. I'm the fortunate person who happens to sit in the seat in which I sit, and I thank my lucky stars for that good fortune every day.
So you feel there is no validity to the thought that they're HBO guys, they're pushing the guy that HBO feels can be the biggest star?
We can't win the fights for them. No matter how much good I say about, take your pick, Oscar De La Hoya, Lennox Lewis, Gennady Golovkin, any of the fighters who have gotten what is seen in the business as the HBO treatment, I didn't win their fights. I didn't do the scorecards. I didn't knock guys down, et cetera, et cetera. Those guys rank in the top 5 or 10 pound for pound because they have records of 36-0 or something like that. They did it. I didn't do that. If you look at the roster of fighters which have provided the lifeblood of HBO boxing over the years, 90% of the time, they are the guys who are in the top 10 or 15 pound for pound. They're the very top fighters in the sport. I didn't put them there. They got there by winning the fights.
I brought this up because for this rematch, it seemed like there was from Ward's side, his fans, or who, even if they aren't Ward's fans, that they felt you called the fight for Kovalev.
If that's the case, obviously the judges didn't hear it, right? Because they wound up voting for Ward. I think I did give Kovalev more credit than he deserved for power on his punches in the late rounds. Watching the fight again on videotape, I realized that Kovalev did legitimately tire in the middle portions of the fight, and that late in the fight, I gave him credit for landing some punches which landed, but which didn't have real power on them. They were more arm punches. Ward's punches achieved greater effect as the fight went on. Those left hooks in the late rounds, very zippy, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody who thinks I have some kind of axe to grind against Andre Ward or for Sergey Kovalev, I know them both. I've covered both of them for a long time. I think if you looked at my whole career, you would have to say I've been pretty favorable to both of those guys. Why? They won the fights. They were always winning the fights when I was calling them. So at the end of the day, I don't score fights round to round. I never issue a score. If anybody influenced the public to believe that we were calling the fight, quote, for Kovalev, that's Harold Letterman. His score was 116, 111, Kovalev, and he told the pay-per-view audience that Kovalev was leading all night long. Those weren't my words. Those are Harold Letterman's words. And by the way, he's not just HBO's unofficial scorer. He's America's unofficial scorer. He's the only judge who, after 3, 6, and 9 rounds, gets to say, I got it scored this way, and here's the reason why. None of the official judges get to do that. So who has more influence on the audience? Obviously him. And, if they want to argue with Harold, then they're arguing with the whole notion of judging fights in the first place. It's an extremely difficult thing to do. It's highly subjective. It, isn't always going to produce the result that you think is the case, and that's the nature of any subjectively scored sport, whether it's diving, gymnastics, figure skating, boxing. There are always going to be controversies when human beings are trying to do something that's difficult to do.
I think I'll just leave it at that, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you.